Hi everyone, good morning. Let's start with today's session. Today's 23rd of May 2026, and most of the news items that we'll be covering in today's class are basically an extension of the news items that we have already covered. So during this particular class, we'll be also discussing that how to consolidate your entire current affairs and GK material that you have already discussed. Because in current affairs and GK, consolidation of study material is one of the most important aspect once you enter in the month of November. Because once you enter in the month of November, things change very rapidly. So we have to be ready for that particular situation as well. So without wasting a single minute, let's start with today's session. Today's 23rd of May 2026, and we have all wonderful students to start our session. Right. So let's start with today's session now. This is Supreme Court refers UAPA bail curbs issues to a larger bench. So for this entire week, we have discussed one important news item almost every day, and it is related to the issue of bail when it comes to the offences committed under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967. And specifically, if we talk about specific section, then we discussed a lot about section 43D clause 5 of the UAPA 1967 and how the bar put under how the bar given under section 43D clause 5 of the UAPA 1967 violates article 21 and 22 of the Indian constitution, right? So recently on Monday the Supreme Court of India in Sayyid Iftikhar Andrabi versus NIA Jammu has granted bail to an accused who were prosecuted under UAPA 1967, and through this particular order the Supreme Court has opened multiple doors related to the bail applications under UAPA 1967. So getting my point? So let's start with this particular premise. Let's start with this particular background. So So basically, the Supreme Court has granted bail to two more accused in 2020 Delhi riot cases, and the Supreme Court has referred this particular case to a larger bench. अब इस पूरे चीज को समझ लेते हैं कि लार्जर बेंच को रेफर करने का यहाँ पर सिस्टम क्या है, सीन क्या हुआ है कि क्यों लार्जर बेंच को रेफर किया गया इस केस को. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज रेफर्ड मैटर related to bail under UAPA to a larger bench. Now, the background we have discussed it multiple times, so I don't think so we should talk more about it. But again, I'll give you a brief of it that how this entire background is working at this moment. So basically, on Monday, on 18th of May 2026, a two-judge bench in the case of Sayyid Iftikhar Andrabi versus NIA Jammu granted bail granted bail to a person prosecuted under UAPA 1967. And when we talk about UAPA 1967 students, the most important provision is section 43D clause 5 of the UAPA 1967. Now, what is section 43D clause 5 of the UAPA 1967? We have discussed it multiple times, but I'll give you a brief of this section 43D clause 5. So the brief is basically when the court shall deny the bail if it has reasonable grounds to believe that the accused was prima facie involved in the commission of the offense. Right. So this is something that we have to understand, that this particular presumption is very strong, and it actually works against the interest of the accused person, because if the court prima facie believes that the accused was involved in the commission of the offense, then in that particular scenario, the court has all the rights to deny the bail. But recently, the Supreme Court of India has made it absolutely clear. A two judges bench of the Supreme Court made it absolutely clear that even though the bar of section 43D clause 5 is there, but at the same time article 21 and 22 was also there. So no statutory bar. The bar of section 43D clause 5 of the UAPA 1967 will never supersede. In no case the bar of section 43D clause 5 of the UAPA 1967 will not supersede the provisions of article 21 and 22. Article 21 talks about freedom of speech, right to life and personal liberty, that no one can take your life and personal liberty except the procedure established by law, whereas article 22 talks about the rights of the arrested person, right? And right to speedy trial is one of the most important aspect of article 21. And the Supreme Court at the same time said, if a particular person has been kept in custody for a very long period of time without providing him or her a right to speedy trial, then this can be a ground for granting bail, even though the offense was committed under section 43D clause 5. So yesterday, the Honorable Supreme Court of India has granted bail to two more individuals who were basically allegedly involved in the commission of, or were involved in Delhi riots of 2020. And at the same time, the Supreme Court has also referred the matter to a larger bench. And now the larger bench will basically lay down a specific ruling, that what we have to do and how we have to approach when there is a case related to bail when it comes to UAPA 1967. Right now, with this particular thought, we'll move to the next important news item. और आज हमें बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लगने वाला, सो कीप योर सेल्फ वेरी यू नो The Supreme Court on Friday recalled observation made in an order blacklisting three educators of preparing a Class 8 NCRT textbook with references to judicial corruption, even as the government orally conveyed a determination not to associate with them anymore. The conclusive opinion attributing motive to your clients has been deleted. The observation that it was a deliberate misrepresentation to tarnish the judiciary have been removed. Now, students, a few months back, basically in the last month, we have a lot of chaos around a specific fact when a very disappointing news for the judiciary came out all the way from a class 8th NCRT textbook, when there was a certain reference given in the textbook. It was related to the corruption in the judiciary. Now the Supreme Court of India took this particular matter very seriously, and the Supreme Court took the entire issue with utmost passion, right? And they took suo motu cognizance under article 142, and they demanded an apology from the NCRT, and the Supreme Court also banned the three individuals who were allegedly involved in the drafting of that particular content, right? So क्लास 8th की civics की बुक में जुडिशियल करप्शन के बारे में कुछ कंटेंट दे दिया गया था, और इसको लेकर के सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या किया, एनसीईआरटी से एक अनकंडीशनल अपॉलॉजी सीख के एनसीईआरटी ने वो अनकंडीशनल अपॉलॉजी प्रेजेंट भी की सुप्रीम कोर्ट में। और इसके अलावा जो थ्री ऑथर्स थे, जो द थ्री ऑथर्स और द थ्री इंडिविजुअल्स हु वर इन्वॉल्वड इन द ड्राफ्टिंग ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर who were involved in the drafting of that particular content, they were also banned from any future कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स बाय द यूनियन और द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट। अब रिसेंटली सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या किया, जो ये हार्श रिमार्क दिए थे इन ऑथर्स के अगेंस्ट में, उसे अपने ऑर्डर से रिमूव कर दिया, और जो इनको बैन किया था वो बैन भी हटा दिया। इसका मतलब क्या, इफ दे वांट टू draft something for the government of India in the upcoming days, they can do the same. Right now we have a question as well. But sir, it's justified as long as with procedure established by law. It also includes due process of law, which in case is UAPA 43D clause 5. So at the end of the day, due process of law, where the due process of law is, if the due process of law is violating fundamental rights, then that's not a due process. At the end of the day, the due process has to be coextensive with the existence with has to be coextensive with fundamental rights. If the due process, Vivek, in itself is violating fundamental rights, then it's not a due process. And also, procedure established by law, it's not only section 43D clause 5 which is procedure established by law, but we also talk about, because every particular law is basically coextensive with the fundamental right. If any specific provision of any particular law is violating fundamental rights, then you cannot say that it is a procedure established by law or it is a due process of law. Getting my point, Vivek? So if you have understood the statement which I have just said, you can just punch in your answer in the chat box section, and we'll move to the next point. तो दिस इज एंटायरली अबाउट एनसीईआरटी। और इसको फिर पार्लियामेंट में भी एक मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट है प्रियंका चतुर्वेदी, she took it to the parliament as well, that the Supreme Court of India is unnecessarily extending the matter. There is no need to say a lot of things about the authors of that particular content, right? So moving on to the next point. Thank you so much if you understood. Okay, fine. Now moving on to the next point. So the chief minister of West Bengal, Suvendu Adhikari, is on the first official visit to Delhi, and he have met the president and the home minister of our country. Now, um, this is about the uh, recent elections that happened in uh, Kerala, and Thiruvanchur Radhakrishnan has been appointed as the Speaker of the 16th State Legislative Assembly of Kerala. 16th Kerala Legislative Assembly के जो नए speaker हैं, he has been appointed, and he is none other than Mr. Thiruvanchur Radhakrishnan. Right now, this is something which was attracting a lot of attention last year, and it was basically relating to oil spillage. और तो oil spillage कहाँ पर हुआ था? So oil spillage took place near the coast of Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. And after that, ecological balance was entirely imbalanced. So after that, this particular ship MSC Elsa 3, the Kerala government filed uh, a petition in the High Court demanding compensation from the company, that because of this particular oil spillage, a lot of ecological disturbance and a lot of damage has been done to the ecological balance of that particular area. And after that, the High Court also allowed some compensation so that the government of Kerala can restore the ecological balance of that particular area. Now we are moving towards the first anniversary of this unfortunate event, and things have not changed substantially, although the government of Kerala is putting in a lot of efforts to improve the situation. But this oil spillage from MSC Elsa 3 has caused a great amount of distress to the ecological balance in Thiruvananthapuram, on the coastal line of the Thiruvananthapuram. So this is basically about that only. Now moving on to the next point. And today you guys are very lucky, right? Ki you don't have to like um, uh, spend close to 70-75 minutes for the analysis, right? हम फटाफट करके फटाफट निकलेंगे आज. Right, Supreme Court grants bail to man held under UAP after 5 years. Another important issue coming all the way from the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court has allowed bail for an offense committed under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967. So now in the last 1 week, we have discussed close to uh, 10 to 11 articles related to this specific news item. So this news item is automatically this news item is automatically relevant for your examination, right? Because हमने एक बार डिस्कस किया था कि अगर किसी भी न्यूज़ आइटम को न्यूज़पेपर में बहुत ज़्यादा स्पेस मिल रहा है, तो हमारे एग्जामिनेशन के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट होती है कंसर्शियम ऑफ एनाल्यूज की नज़र हमेशा उस पर रहती है. तो बाय अप्लाइंग दैट पर्टिकुलर लॉजिक, दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. नाउ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया हैज अलाउड another bail application under which was basically the offense was committed under UAPA 1967, and the person was in custody since 2021. So for past 4.5 years this person was in custody, and now the Supreme Court has allowed the bail. So we have to patiently wait for that, reference which has been made to the larger bench, that what the larger bench is going to decide, that is going to be a very important piece of information, or the very important important subject matter for your current affairs and GK section, as well as legal reasoning. तो अभी आपको क्या करना है, आपको यूएपीए 1967 से रिलेटेड जो भी कंटेंट है, जितना हम लोगों ने पास्ट 1 वीक में डिस्कस किया, उसको आप कंसोलिडेट कर लीजिए. और नॉट ओनली द कंसोलिडेशन, बट ऑल्सो वन मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग, one more important thing, that Article 21, 22, provisions of Section 43D Clause 5, and the reasoning given by the Supreme Court of India, and also the reference of Union of India versus K. A. Najib. These are the four things जो आपके हमेशा फिंगर टिप्स पे होनी चाहिए. The first one is the judgment or the observation made by the Supreme Court of India in Sayyid Iftikhar Andrabi versus NIA Jammu. Then how it is how the provision of section how the provision section 43D clause 5 is violating article 21 and 22 of the Indian Constitution, and what is there in section 43D clause 5, the presumption which has been given in section 43D clause 5. You have to cover that as well. Right, now moving on to the next important news item that we have to cover. So getting my point now, these are the small news items that you have to cover. और ये छोटे छोटे न्यूज आइटम कवर करके ही आप क्या करेंगे, एक पूरे टॉपिक को आप कंसोलिडेट करेंगे. राइट, सो ऑन दैट नोट विल मूव टू द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. And at the end of this class, you have to ask a lot of questions. So we'll discuss a small, we'll devote a small portion of today's class towards the strategy and how you should approach the current affairs and GK, and how you should cover up the entire thing that you have already done in the past 5 months. Right now, so we also invested a great amount of energy, a large amount of our energy in yesterday's discussion about the restoration of statehood for Ladakh, and also the special protection must be provided under the sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution, right? So but now the Union Home Ministry has proposed a new mechanism to grant Ladakh greater legislative, financial, and administrative powers within the existing Union Territory framework, according to the civil society members who attended a subcommittee meeting with ministry officials on Friday. So the Ministry of Home Affairs have made it absolutely clear that at this point of time we cannot restore the statehood of Ladakh, but we will provide more legislative autonomy to Ladakh under the existing Union Territory framework. So for a very long period of time, the once you become a state, a lot of powers, a lot of exclusive powers are there to exercise. And for that specific reason, the representatives of Ladakh and these people are demanding that the government should restore the statehood of Ladakh, and also the next important thing is not only the restoration of statehood, but also the special protection which has been provided under the sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution, which provides special administrative rights in four northeastern states of Assam, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Tripura to autonomous district council, right? So this is something which is not a new thing. You guys must be aware about it. अब अगर आपको इसमें इस यहाँ तक जितनी चीजें हम लोगों ने डिस्कस की, if you have any particular question or any specific question from the portion which we have already discussed, you can ask your question. Otherwise, we'll move to the next topic. I'll wait for your questions. Otherwise, we'll move to the next topic. And guys, you are law aspirants, right? Start asking a lot of questions. इतने questions पूछ लीजिए कि मुझे लगने लगे कि अरे इतने ज़्यादा questions पूछ लिए, अब हम आगे proceed कैसे करेंगे? And we still have almost 198 days for CLAT 2027. So a lot of time is there. You don't have to worry about anything. Clear? Okay. Okay, fine. So now moving on to the next point, moving on to the next important news item. So now this is about a very important organization which is known as Quad. अब Quad के चार members, Quad is basically four quadrilateral is shape जिसमें चार sides होती हैं. अभी Quad की meeting जो है वो इंडिया होस्ट करने वाला है. अब क्वाड में मेंबर्स कौन कौन से? जापान, इंडिया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका. So today is 23rd of May 2026, and today the Secretary of State, uh, b- the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will start his official visit to India, and he is going to stay in India for good 3 4 days. His meeting is basically scheduled from 23rd to 26th. His visit is scheduled from 23rd to 26th of May 2026, and at the same time, this particular group Quad. Now, Quad was created to reduce the dominance of China. But because last year, United States of America in global geopolitics, they did a lot of things because of which Quad summit couldn't take place. But in 2026, I guess United States of America is, uh, you know, uh, learning from its past and previous mistakes. And so now, once Mr. Marco Rubio is in India, now what will happen? So the next important development is days after US President Donald Trump's visit to China, India will chair a meeting of the Quad's foreign ministers on Tuesday with talks about a free and open Indo-Pacific on the top of the agenda. So Indo-Pacific region is very important because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. We have discussed it multiple times. A 33-kilometer wide water passage which has created a lot of problem for the entire global geopolitics because 20% of the global oil supply passes through the Strait of Hormuz, and Strait of Hormuz exclusively falls under the territorial waters of the Islamic State of Iran. For that specific region, the closure of Strait of Hormuz is creating a lot of problem. No, no, I don't have a separate YouTube channel, and I don't need a separate YouTube channel. 12 minutes to CLAT is an outstanding platform to, showcase my skills, to interact with you guys, to, come up every day and, help you in understanding everything. And Keshav Malpani sir is an outstanding person, right? So once you have the guidance of Keshav Malpani sir, you don't need anything of your own, right? We feel like this is our own thing, right? We never feel excluded from it, and that's why we are able to contribute in such a great manner, right? Now when we talk about the entire group of quad का मतलब चार होता है. अब quad basically, quad में आपको क्या याद रखना है? Quad में जो सबसे important चीज आप लोग को याद रखनी है, who is known as the founding father of quad. Anyone who would give the answer of this particular question, who will give the answer of this particular question, will get a 5 star from my side. Once the results are declared, you will get a 5 star from my side. Who is known as the founding father of quad group? There is a hint as well. He was one of the longest serving state head of any of the given four countries. Anyone who'd like to answer the question, who is known as the founding father of quad group? Anyone? I'm waiting for your response now. And he was assassinated. There is one more hint. He was assassinated. No natural death. He was assassinated, and he was also the former. He is. We are talking about the former Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Shinzo Abe. Shinzo Abe is considered as the founding father of. Shinzo Abe is considered as the founding father of this prestigious group. You are absolutely correct, Shinzo Abe, right? So on on Tuesday, that would be 26th, 23rd, 24th, 26th, 26th of May, India will host a meeting of foreign ministers of Quad group, and this particular summit may change a lot of things related to the closure of Strait of Hormuz. So for this specific reason, this Quad foreign ministers meet is of extreme importance, and it would be chaired by the External Affairs Minister of India, जो laser light निकलती है इनकी आंखों से, our beloved foreign minister, Mr. S. Jai Shankar. Right, now moving on to the next point. Now yesterday we discussed, almost we gave our 30 to 35 precious minutes to the outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So now the central government has asked the states and union territories to set up Ebola surveillance centers, क्योंकि जो भी फॉरेन ट्रैवलर्स आएंगे इंडिया विजिट करेंगे, देयर प्रॉपर सर्विलांस इज ऑफ utmost importance, because during the outbreak of COVID-19, during the outbreak of COVID-19, we understood one thing, that proper surveillance is of utmost importance, right? So just to give you a brief idea about what is Ebola. So we discussed a lot of things about Ebola yesterday. So for the first time, students, for the first time, Ebola was identified in 1976 near the Ebola River in Democratic Republic of Congo. Recently, there has been an Ebola outbreak in Democratic Republic of Congo, and due to this particular outbreak, World Health Organization has declared this particular outbreak as public health emergency of international concern under the international health regulations of 2005. Now moving on to the next important point that we have to understand, because of this outbreak of Ebola, India has to postpone the India Africa Forum Summit, which was scheduled to take place later this month. And the most concerning aspect of Ebola is that fatality rate is somewhere between 25 to 90%, depending upon the variant of the Ebola, right? So now the central government has also started taking a lot of precautionary measure, and in the same context, they have asked all the state governments and the union territories to take precautionary measures and set up the Ebola surveillance center. Now, this particular case is from Madhya Pradesh, where you know uh, b- a person is has been alleged to that he killed his wife, and after killing his wife he was absconding for last 10 to 11 days. Now after a lot of media attention was given to this specific issue, now this fellow has finally surrendered, Mr. Samarth Singh, and he is the son of a former judge. And that's why this particular thing was attracting a lot of media attention, that how a sitting supreme court, how a former judge is actually misusing the entire system to make things convenient for herself. Right, now moving on to the next point. Now your favorite topic. And recently on 15th of May, I am pretty sure that the Chief Justice of India must be following this particular news item in with a great sense of responsibility, because on 15th of May 2026, the Honorable Chief Justice of India, Justice Suryakant, has given a very strong remark regarding the related to the youth of our country, and he said that the youth of our country is like parasites and cockroaches. And after that, the entire Gen Z was very furious about this particular observation, that how the Supreme Court Chief Justice can say that entire entire generation is this parasite and cockroaches. And after that, what happened? A person who was not in India, he formed a party, और उस पार्टी का उन्होंने नाम क्या दिया? कॉकरोच जनता पार्टी, CJP. And within 6 days of its formation, this has become the largest political entity on Instagram, with almost 20 million followers, surpassing Indian National Congress, which has only 13.3 million followers on Instagram. So that's the power of the youth in our country, that they have made sure that if something is directly attacking their identity, then we should then, and if something is there to support their identity, then they will definitely do it. Now when we talk about this issue of youth in our country, this academically this topic is not of that relevance to you. I'll be very honest, वो हमेशा मैं उसमें से नहीं हूँ कि जो आपको फॉर द सेक ऑफ डूइंग इट मैं आपको हर दिन का एडिटोरियल पूरा एक्सप्लेन करूँ वेदर इट्स रेलेवेंट फॉर यू और नॉट. आई नो योर्स इज अ objective examination. You will get 4 options for in your examination, and you will have to choose a correct fact. Yours is a factual examination. करंट अफेयर्स और जीके क्लैट में सिर्फ और सिर्फ फैक्ट्स, एलिट में सिर्फ और सिर्फ फैक्ट्स, और अदर लॉ एंट्रेंस टेस्ट जो भी होते हैं उसमें सिर्फ आपसे फैक्ट पूछे जाते हैं. दिस एंटायर टॉपिक डज नॉट हैव एनी फैक्ट. एंड yesterday Keshav sir has also uploaded a video related to the Cockroach Janta Party, right? Also all the academic aspect has been covered there, but again, as of this particular editorial is concerned, it talks about the issues related to today's youth, how unemployment is creating a lot of problems for them, and post COVID things have changed drastically because of the exposure to the digital devices, right? So keeping all those things in mind, we have to move to the next point. We have to move to the next article. Cyber warfare is outpacing global legal accountability. Now, when we talk about this cyber warfare, the most important thing is, or cyber warfare or artificial intelligence students, the most important concern that we have with us is that do we have a proper mechanism, or do we have a proper infrastructure, or do we have a proper legal infrastructure to counter all these kind of problems? Because these things are changing very quickly and very rapidly. So in that, with that, in that particular context, we have to understand that at this point of time we don't have a proper legal infrastructure which can outpace the cyber crimes in our country, right? So the Supreme Court has also said multiple times that the union government should make a concrete and a very solid infrastructure when it comes to cyber warfare. Recent tensions involving the United States, Israel and Iran highlighted a clear shift in how force is exercised today. According to reporting and policy analysis, the recent strikes were accompanied not only by conventional military action but also by cyber operations, which has included the hacking of news websites and widely used applications to disrupt communication and influence the information environment. So, why cyber warfare is such a concerning issue? Anyone who'd like to answer the question? It is a very commonsensical question. Why? Why cyber warfare is such a concerning thing? बिकॉज ऑफ वन पर्टिकुलर इशू कि साइबर वॉरफेयर के लिए आपको साइबर क्राइम कमिट करने के लिए यू डोंट नीड योर फिजिकल प्रेजेंस एट द क्राइम सीन. You are sitting in Vietnam, you are sitting in Cambodia, you are sitting in China, you are sitting in Russia, and from thousands of kilometers away you can actually commit a crime. So that's why cyber crime is such an important issue and such pain for the government, because it becomes very difficult to identify the entire trail and to identify the actual accused, right? So at this point of time we don't have that kind of system. Now moving on to the next point कि किसी न्यूज़ मीडिया की वेबसाइट को हैक करके वहां पर अपना जो प्रोपोगंडा था उसको उन्होंने क्या किया, टेलीकास्ट कर दिया, राइट? और उन्होंने क्या किया कि जो पब्लिक स्पेसेस होते हैं, डिजिटल स्पेसेस होते हैं, उनको हैक करके वहां पे उन्होंने अपना प्रोपोगंडा टेलीकास्ट कर दिया. सो दीज आर द थिंग्स which are making this entire cyber warfare a pain for the government, right? Now moving on to the next point. Establishing threshold is difficult. In reality, international law does not lack relevant principles. The prohibition on the use of force under Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter, along with the framework of the state responsibility, applies to cyberspace in principle. When cyber operations affect infrastructure or essential services, serious legal issues may arise. Now, the reference has been given to Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter as well. Now, anyone who would like to tell me what is Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter? Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter. And in past 3 months, there has been almost 5 to 6 articles where the reference of Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter has been given in the newspaper. So what is Article the reference of Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter? Anyone? Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter, the reference or the need of Article 2 Clause 4. What is there in Article 2 Clause 4? So basically, no country can use or threaten to use force against the integrity and sovereignty of other country without taking the prior approval of United Nations Security Council. Right, so this is something which is very important, that Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter is absolutely clear on the point that no country can use or threaten to use force against between the global strategic partnership and comprehensive strategic partnership. Right, I'll come back to this particular point as well. The difference between global strategic partnership and comprehensive strategic partnership. So Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter is absolutely clear on the point कि कोई भी कंट्री किसी भी कंट्री के अगेंस्ट में किसी तरीके की फोर्स को यूज नहीं कर सकती है. एंड द recent example was the attack which was executed by Iran, which was executed by Israel and United States of America against Iran, right? So that was a sheer violation of uh, Article 2, Clause 4 of the UN Charter, and to protect itself, Islamic State of Iran utilized the power given under the Article 51 of the UN Charter. And what is Article 51 of the UN Charter? Anyone? आप ये प्लीज लिख लीजिए, इसलिए मैं साइड हो गया हूँ. एक मिनट आप लिख लीजिए, मुझे बता दीजिए, सो दैट वी कैन मूव टू द नेक्स्ट. Right. Now moving on to the next point. So Article 51 is basically right to self-defense. So when the when United States of America and Israel violated Article 2, Clause 4, so to protect itself, is Iran utilized the powers given under Article 51, that is right to self-defense. Now the question was, what is the difference between global strategic partnership and comprehensive strategic partnership? So I guess global strategic partnership and comprehensive, instead of this particular question, I guess you have a paraphrase, or you have the phrasing of this particular question would have been you know uh, better. The question should have been, what is the difference between strategic partnership and comprehensive strategic partnership? So when we talk about a strategic partnership, we are basically uh, uh, asserting that we will develop in a particular domain, will promote our relations in a specific domain. वो हो सकता है कि इकोनॉमिक रिलेशंस हो, वो हो सकता है डिफेंस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो, वो हो सकता है मैरीटाइम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो. but but when we talk about comprehensive strategic partnership, so comprehensive strategic partnership includes all the facets of the development, each and everything which is related, or which is basically a basis of the mutual relations of countries. वो सारे चीजों पर हम काम करेंगे, that is comprehensive strategic partnership. And strategic partnership is when you try to strengthen your relations in a specific context, right? तो आप बता दीजिए, Misty Garg. Uh, are we good to go, Misty? So we can move to the next point. I'm waiting for your response. Till then, we move to the next point. No, IMP, you have not missed anything substantial. Most of the news items are basically an extension of the things which we have already covered. So today is Saturday, and as we know, on Saturdays, basically we have these, case studies from the various states, and we these case studies are not that relevant. Bal Vivah Abhi Nahi Kabhi Nahi youth group. So basically, this is a case study about the child marriage, which has been prohibited under the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act. Then now in the business section as well, we have nothing important or relevant. Now in the international domain, we have a lot of things which are important. Taiwan says US hasn't notified it of any pause in 14 billion arms sales. So after the visit of Donald Trump to China, where China presented a strong opposition of this particular fact that United States of America is supplying a lot of arms and ammunitions to the to Taiwan, and China strongly believes that Taiwan is an integral part of China. तो उसकी sovereignty को assert करने के लिए, if United States of America is supplying a lot of weapons, so this particular fact is not appreciated by China, right? तो अभी उसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ताइवान ने बोला है कि उन्होंने एक $14 बिलियन की आर्म्स डील साइन की थी यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के साथ में, और उस पर उन्होंने बोला है कि यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका ने अभी उन्हें ऐसा कुछ भी नोटिफाई नहीं किया है कि जो $14 बिलियन का आर्म सेल का डील था उस पर किसी भी तरीके का पॉज है, राइट? India sees relations with China in a bilateral context, but Beijing has never seen it that way. So for last 1 year, or since October 2024, when we normalized our bilateral relations with China, क्योंकि post Galwan Valley attack, things were not good between China and India. And after that, it took a lot of efforts from both the countries. See, global is in that context. I mean, now you have given me the context. So, global strategic partnership is that when your relations with a country has an impact on the global aspect as well. Now, United States of America is the most powerful country in the world. So if we want to establish good relations with United States of America, then we have to you know uh, work on a lot of other countries as well, that are bilateral relations with China, are bilateral relations with Russia, are bilateral relationship with Turkey, are bilateral relationship with Iran, are bilateral relationship with so many other countries. Because global strategic partnership is that when your relations with a specific country may define or may open multiple doors in the global context. So that is your global strategic partnership, and United States of America, being the most powerful country in the world, has a global impact. So improving relations, improving relations with United States of America might have an impact on the global strategic partnership of India. Sir, क्या यूएस ताइवान को चाइना का इंटीग्रल पार्ट मानता है? द आंसर इज एब्सोल्युटली नो. United States of America acknowledges one China policy, but it never, recognized Taiwan as an independent state. Right. So that is something which we have to understand. And in 1971, United Nations passed a resolution affirming the fact that Taiwan is not an independent state. Right. So this is absolutely clear. It just acknowledges, it doesn't recognize. Absolutely correct. It acknowledges one China policy, but it never recognizes the autonomy or the statehood or the nationhood of Taiwan. Right. And this is for just for the benefit. Right. अभी उन्होंने acknowledge कर दिया वन चाइना पॉलिसी को, चाइना के साथ में भी रिलेशंस अपने मेंटेन कर सकते हैं, बट उन्होंने ताइवान की ऑटोनॉमी को हमेशा बोला है कि उस पर उन्होंने कोई स्टेटमेंट नहीं दिया, बट वो ताइवान के ऑटोनॉमी को लेकर के क्या करते हैं, ये सारे आर्म्स और एमुनेशन सप्लाई करके बेसिकली when your action speaks louder than words, though you don't recognize it on the global platform, but the mere fact of supplying arms and ammunition to Taiwan is stating a different story. Right. So now moving on to the next point, moving on to the next point. Donald Trump has I don't understand Donald Trump. NATO minister sounds out Washington on Trump's confusing troop moves. So basically अभी हम ना कुछ facts NATO के बारे में फटाफट डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. ऐसे ही हम क्या करेंगे, छोटे छोटे जो हमारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से रिलेटेड जो टॉपिक होते हैं उनको भी हम कवर करते रहेंगे. नेटो. एंड व्हाट इज नेटो? नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ट्रीटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. It was established on 4th of April 1949. And where is the headquarter of this organization, NATO? Brussels, Belgium. How many founding members were there? 12 founding members. Current strength is? What is the current strength? So there are 32 members. And which country is the 32nd member? Which country is the 32nd member? Answer is Sweden. Answer is Sweden. Now moving on to the next point. Who is the current Director General of NATO? Mark Rutte, former Prime Minister of Netherlands, is the current Director General of NATO. Right. And which is the founding treaty? Right. That is absolutely correct. Taiwan cannot win this war. That is absolutely fine. So, and which is the principal treaty behind the establishment of NATO? So the treaty is Washington Treaty. So these are the few facts related to North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which are of great importance. You may write down all these facts. If they ever ask a question about NATO, out of the given information, there you will find almost 2 to 3 questions from this information. Right. 32 members. 32nd member is Sweden. Founding members were 12. Headquartered is in Brussels, Belgium. Established on 4th of April 1949. Principal treaty is Washington Treaty. And who's the current Director General? Mr. Mark Rutte. Mr. Mark Rutte. Right. Now moving on to the next point. You can take a screenshot, or if you want to write it, you can write it as well. And which is the most important part of Washington Treaty? So most important part is Article 5 of the Washington Treaty. And what is Article 5 of the Washington Treaty? Principle of collective defense. And what is the principle of collective defense? That attack on any one country would be considered as the attack on the entire NATO group. And for that specific reason, Ukraine is trying to become a member of NATO, so that it may have the ultimate protection of the entire NATO group. Right. So this is all about NATO. Now moving on to the next point. Sports section में तो SRH defeated Royal Challenger Bangalore. Now, students, just one point which I'd like to make, that we are in the month of May. Today is 23rd of May 2026, and we still have 198 days before CLAT 2027, which is scheduled to take place on 6th of December 2026. That would be your first Sunday of uh, December. So the primary focus of at this point of time, your primary focus should be on the consolidation of material. That when we talk about current affairs in GK, you should not pick any material and start reading from it. You should know what would be your sources. You should know what are the different things that you need for for your preparation, and you should consolidate all material. That when we talk about the current affairs in GK, January, February, March, April हो चुका है, तो इन 4 महीने के करंट अफेयर्स और जीके के जो नोट्स हैं और आपका जो पूरा मटेरियल है, एट एनी गिवन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वो हमेशा आपका रेडी होना चाहिए। अगर आपका वो मटेरियल रेडी है तो आप हमेशा उसको क्या करते रहेंगे, टाइम टू टाइम रिवाइज करते रहेंगे। नाउ करंट अफेयर्स एंड जीके इज वन सब्जेक्ट वेयर स्टूडेंट्स इन्वेस्ट अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम। तो उसमें आपको एक चीज़ याद रखनी है कि जो ऐसे टॉपिक हैं विच आर वेरी मच इन न्यूज़, उसको आप एक जगह कंसोलिडेट करना शुरू कर दीजिए। दोज टॉपिक्स माइट बी द जजमेंट्स ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट और द इम्पॉर्टेंट लेजिस्लेशंस पास्ड बाय द यूनियन गवर्नमेंट, and also important international events like Operation Epic Fury and True Promise. 4. Then the removal motion initiated against the Chief Election Commissioner of India, removal motion initiated against the Lok Sabha Speaker, then Transgender Person Protection of Rights Amendment Act 2026, then Union Budget, then 77th Republic Day Parade, then European Free Trade Agreement, the mother of all trade deal. So these are certain topics which you need to consolidate. And the last part is, the basic principle which works in any entrance examination is minimum resources, maximum revision. It's not the quantum of content that you are consuming will help you in succeeding the examination, but it's all about the time which you are uh, you know if you feel such, see, you should entirely focus on the compendium, because in compendium is about law entrance examination, right? So compendium में जो टॉपिक होंगे वो क्लैट एलिट और जितने भी लॉ एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन होते हैं सबके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं। प्राइमरली जो उनका फोकस होता है वो क्लैट पे होता है, बट इट विल कवर न्यूज आइटम्स रिलेटेड टू एलिट, न्यूज आइटम रिलेटेड टू स्लैट एज वेल। तो उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में विवेक हमें उसे अप्रोच करना है, राइट? So the entire point is consolidation is important, minimum resources, maximum revision is important, and self-belief is important. Always remember this, that there is a very popular saying, you must have read about it in your schools, that self-help is the best help and God help those who help themselves, right? So this is your time. You should, pour every drop of your blood and sweat into this examination. You might end up at NLSIU Bangalore next year, or NALSAR Hyderabad, or NLU Delhi. Right? So it's all about putting in a great amount of hard work, and I know you guys are absolutely willing to put in a great amount of hard work. That's why watch this session every day at 7:45 in the morning. So on that note, we'll wrap up today's session. We'll see you on Monday at the same time, 7:45 in the morning. And till this date we have done almost 85-90 questions, so आप उसे भी revise एक बार कर लीजिएगा. We'll meet on Monday on 25th of May 2026. Till then, bye bye. Take a good care of yourself. Heat wave का warning announce हो चुका है, तो इसके बारे में भी थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखिए. Keep yourself hydrated. And yeah, that's it for today's class. Do like this video, subscribe to our channel, and yes, keep showering your love. And that's it. Bye, guys. On a count of three, we'll wrap up today's session. One, two, three. Bye, everyone.